Hello, my name is Vincent Rhodes, and this is my presentation for Case Study 1. Should he be fired for that Facebook post? The initial question is, how does this case study portray the problem? The problem is that an employee who is frustrated with his employer has elected to use social media, an outlet that can be viewed by many, to voice his frustrations. The frustrations that he voiced can not only be seen by his friends and family, but also any potential business partners that he is elected to have as a friend within this social media. First, I want to start off by saying any business that has not taken its time and done the due diligence to set forth proper policies, procedures, and expectations for employees' social media outlets has not done a service to protect themselves for the longevity within their marketplace. Back to the story. Mr. Keaton, who is the employee for Downcity Motors, a luxury car dealership that works with Mercedes, BMW, and Range Rover, is frustrated with the presentation that is about to take place for a new Mercedes car that is about to be released. He elects to voice these frustrations first in person to his leadership team, a gentleman by the name of Tyson and the daughter's owner, Susie. Both do not hear his frustrations to be valid and do not do anything to address those frustrations, which ultimately leads to him using Facebook to voice his concerns. His concerns that were voiced on Facebook is that the presentation was lackluster and did not scream luxury, which could ultimately affect his commission check, the dealership, and also his peers. So in a sense, his frustrations are not unjust. The concern comes in when a BMW headquarters gets word of this frustration and reaches out to the owner of Downcity Motors, Dell. Dell's informed that this Facebook post has a negative light not only on Mercedes, but also the ability for Downcity Motors to represent luxury cars. Dell, frustrated that it is the second time that Keaton has elected to use social media to voice concerns, contacts his daughter, Susie, to address the concern. What are the options for Downcity Motors, Dell, and Susie? I think this all depends on how the first interaction was handled with Mr. Keaton about using Facebook to voice his frustrations. Was the urgency set forth with Mr. Keaton that this is an action that should not take place at any point, and there are many other ways that he can get his point across? How is their open door policy with their employees? Do they feel comfortable approaching leadership with any concerns and having the faith that that voice is going to be heard and the issues are going to be addressed? Was there any legitimate documentation put forth so Mr. Keaton had actionable measures to obtain and be held accountable to? I'm not sure how this first interaction was held, but I'm sure that some of those things were not done, and that could have been the reason why Keaton did not see the severity of his actions by using Facebook to voice his concerns. Second option for Susie would be to ignore the comments. I feel that this is the worst option for Downcity Motors and Susie. It shows to the other employees that there is no consequences for their actions and that they can go and belittle the company as they please on their social media sites. Especially with other people paying attention to their social media sites, such as BMW and possibly Range Rover, this could be detrimental to the success of Downcity Motors. I think that they need to take time to sit down with their employees and express what proper social media protocol looks like. Third option for Susie would be to follow Dell's wants. The owner is eager to get Keaton out of the business due to the fact that this is the second time that he has portrayed Downcity Motors in a negative light using his Facebook. Mr. Keaton, as any business owner, is very frustrated that he's had to respond to one of his biggest suppliers, BMW, and smooth that over with a potential issue stemming from Mr. Keaton's options. He immediately wants that individual, Mr. Keaton, to be gone by the end of the day. Susie, neglecting to follow her dad's lead, elects to talk to Toby, who is the HR supervisor for Downcity Motors, and they're trying to figure out what the best option is. So the three options are to address this with Mr. Keaton again, ignore the comment, or follow the owner Dell's wants and fire Mr. Keaton. What are Susie's final options? I think it's all perspective on how the first, again, interaction was made. From my perspective, I don't think Susie should fire him. I think that she has dropped the ball, as mentioned in the document, on changing the policies that they have talked about many times. Toby, being the HR representative, also dropped the ball by not making these changes. I think by setting forth proper expectations with their employees, and making sure that they understand the severity of their social media actions could lead to termination would go a long way, not only for Mr. Kean, but the rest of the team to prevent future issues that could take place. If this hasn't been done, it definitely needs to be done. That's the first option. Second would be to sit down Mr. Kean and give him formal documentation that can be kept on file with actionable measures. By him committing to these actionable measures, you have a guideline to hold him accountable. He is either going to make that choice to follow those, or again, to use social media to outcry when he is frustrated. At that point, you may have the right to terminate because he's violated commitments that he's personally signed off on. I think this would be the best option as well, due to the fact that Mr. Keaton may not know the severity of his actions the way that Susie handled the initial conversation, since the issue is pertaining again to the success of Down City Motors. The moral of this story? I believe the moral of this story is in today's world, social media plays a huge role in everyone's lives. It's day to day. There's not a day that goes by that you can't talk to someone about what they did on social media, who they saw on social media, what advertising they saw on social media. It's key to a business's success. Social media is the new platform for marketing, and many businesses have taken the time to make sure that policies are in place to protect them. To protect them from areas of wrongful termination, from lawsuits that have violated the National Labor Relations Board. These people are the ones that will ultimately decide whether that was done unjust or justifiably through these policies. I think that by resuming these policies on a regular basis, holding individuals accountable, less action is likely to be taking place because they will be clear and precise on what the expectations are. For Down City Motors specifically, I think that this is a moral that they need to learn, that in today's world, business is ever evolving as technology does. The option to touch many people in a successful way by just a few keystrokes is there. Keaton, for example, was able to not only get this information out to his friends and family, but also BMW. BMW being a huge supplier to the success of Down City Motors. I think that at the end of the day, Down City Motors needs to sit down and analyze what is more important to them, their business relationship with BMW and future success by partnering with such a great company, or the loss of an employee such as Keaton, who, again, has violated the trust of his employer by bad-mouthing them on a social media platform. To me, they do not weigh equally. The result of losing BMW could be catastrophic to Down City Motors. And that is why I feel that ultimately, by setting forth the expectations and allowing Keaton to either become a better employee or coach himself out of the business would be the best option. Thank you.